Well, one thing is certain, and that is that whatever the ultimate results of this U.S. Election and the races in Congress, it is not what many people had expected to see today. Far from a blue wave, of course. In some ways, much has changed in America today, and in other ways, very little has changed. What does it all mean, though, for corporate Canada and Canadian policy and our economic prospects in general? Gord Nixon is a former CEO of the Royal Bank of Canada. He's also chairman of the board of BCE, which is the parent company of this network. Gord, great to have you with us. And I really did want to start there. I mean, I know, and we saw a little bit of this even ahead of the election, other world leaders expressing distaste for Donald Trump. I mean, there's a visceral feeling about the U.S. president. Can we separate that out, as I think we must, from what the actual practical meaning of him still being in the White House, if that should happen, is for Canada and Canadian businesses?
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, Amanda, in that you do have to separate it out. I mean, everyone knows that, you know, if Joe Biden were to become president, we would certainly feel better. There'd be more certainty. There'd be less, anxiousness, less volatility, and there'd be, a restoration to some of the traditional global relationships that have been, an important part of our economic well-being, whether it's World Trade Organization, GA cooperation, et cetera. Having said that, from a pure business perspective, it probably isn't significantly different. There's pros and cons to both. If Trump is elected, the energy industry will probably at the margin feel a little bit better. It certainly improves the prospects for Keystone. And in both cases, both President Trump and Vice President Biden have been very strong on Buy Americas. And the trade aggravations are going to be there in both cases. And particularly when you've got a Democratic House and a Republican Senate, regardless who the president is, I think the actual impact on specific businesses and economic activity in Canada is probably, less obvious than people would think.
Also less obvious, I guess, are some of the slow-moving but important changes that Donald Trump and, 50% of the voters, more or less, think America should make, which includes, withdrawing from important multilateral organizations, kind of relinquishing the post-World War II role in the world. It's one that Canada has benefited from. Our close ally, our closest trading partner, we kind of went along for the ride of America in the driver's seat. Are we positioned, do you worry about our position when that's not the world order? Or is that such a slow-moving process that businesses shouldn't really have that on their, on their dashboard right now?
No, it is slow-moving, but it also is very worrisome. And, the biggest winner from a bifurcated from a bifurcated United States has been China. And, the dysfunctionality of the U.S. and the withdrawal of a lot of those international organizations, has contributed to the rise of China and the reduction of the U.S.'s position as a global leader, whether it's economic, whether it's military, or whether it's just its leadership with respect to these global institutions. And that's not going to change dramatically, regardless of the outcome of the election. Although I said, I think people will start to feel a lot better, and it will start to move in a different direction if you get a change in the presidency. It is worrisome from Canada. I mean, you've got a much more insular United States, regardless of who's the president, much more protectionism, less globalization, and we are truly a trading country. The rise of a country that we don't have a particularly strong relationship with. And, notwithstanding the U.S. Conflict with China, the Americans are masters at playing both sides of the fence. I mean, yes, they've got, this power struggle going on with China, and we're certainly feeling the effects of that. Yet you're still seeing a lot of U.S. business activity between the United States and China. I mean, we've just seen the approval of licenses for a number of U.S. banks and financial institutions in China, whereas, Canada's taken a bit of a back seat. So, I think that it is something that we have to pay attention to. And I think more important than the election, to some degree, is, Canada's got to manage its way out of the pandemic and the results of this shift in global power in a way that's in the interest of the country. And we've got a lot of very important, policy decisions that we're going to have to make going forward. I think we're well positioned for it, but we're going to have to make some good decisions.
And I mean, this is the start of a whole important conversation. So forgive me, we've only got a minute here. But those important policy decisions may define, of course, our future kind of economic landscape. What do you think are the most important things Ottawa should be considering? Because we're still in this pandemic and we still have to get through it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, one of the challenges we've had is managing through the pandemic. I think we've been, very good in terms of our compliance as a country. And, particularly relative to the United States, which is the benchmark that everyone has utilized. But, there's been a massive failure in this country when it comes to testing. And I think that has had an impact, not just on our economic position, but our ability to come out of it. And, you're seeing in countries around the world, like Taiwan and South Korea, but even countries like Germany and even the United States to some degree, a slightly different economic position because of their ability to manage through, some of the healthcare issues where, frankly, we have to a large degree been left behind. So I think that's an important issue. I think immigration's an important issue. I mean, Canada is well positioned to attract talent and to grow areas like technology, but we're going to have to compete with the United States. We're going to have a competitive tax regime.
All right, Gord Nixon, so great to have your thoughts on this day.